Welcome, everybody, to Generation Dan, the only podcast where everyone has either been to college or has sent their kids to college. Wait. I'm Atlas Novak. I'm your millennial. Who else is here with me?
Jesus. I'm like, oh, yeah, I have been called this. Okay, I'm okay. I'm okay in that. Yeah, no. I'm Dino the Genetic Marvel. I went to college at some point. I never finished, but I still got a job. So that was great.
And our guest today, you've seen her before. She was new Fiona on Shameless. It's Mary Kennedy. How are you?
Hello. I just sent my daughter to college. And I went to college too. So
Okay. Is your daughter living at college or is she
commuting?
Yeah.
She's at college.
How is that? Yeah, within the state?
Within the state.
Within the state, okay.
So only like here in LA, only 38 minutes without traffic, an hour and 10 with traffic.
There you go. That's the actual amount of time.
So probably 2 hours. That's fine.
I love when people go, it's this amount without traffic. I'm like, so you're going at 3 a.m?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it was difficult, but the rule in our house is that, as my mother used to say, Yale, jail, or the Air Force. So the kids chose college. So
that's not unreasonable.
Yeah.
Right. Like all three of those will provide varying experiences of careers, right. Like those are all long-term plans. They don't have the same outcomes, but they definitely are long-term plans. It's not unreasonable,
Yeah. So there you go. So I did that. And, I mean, it's been interesting, but it is a long weekend. And because the majority of that school, a lot of people live in California, my daughter's home this weekend. So
I just love the idea of like, okay, baby, I love you. Please remember to shower. And you're back already. Okay.
Yeah, she's back.
So now here's a question though. Like, how do you handle because realistically the drop off is a very emotional thing. And there's a whole thing. But realistically, after about a week of them not being there, you're like, man, my house is a lot cleaner without other people floating around. So like when they come back, can you be like, oh, I'm going to have to clean because you're here? Like, how do you have to temper them to be like, don't get too comfortable back here. I'm enjoying this. It's just,
Well, yeah, because my son, who's 16, he plays drums.
Ooh.
And and again, my kid is back next week because they have their last pediatrician appointment before, so they're back next week. But my son said to me, he goes, I hate having to drag the drums out of this little corner in our living room into the main part of our living room. I want a space for my drums. And so as soon as she goes back to school next week, I mean, she goes to school and then comes back, he's going to push those drums in there. He's going to make it his music studio.
Oh my God. Her bedroom or?
Her bedroom. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So he's eyeing it. He's putting little instruments. He puts a tambourine in there,
I just love the idea of like, as soon as she leaves after the last pediatrician appointment, it's like that scene in Freaks and Geeks with Jason Segel. Where he's like drumming to Rush, like, yeah, it's time.
There's no love lost with my son. He's very excited. Yeah.
I think that's an important thing is that like siblings will be at each other's throat until they become people, which is much later in life. Yeah. And then maybe they'll become friends. You're like, that's all you can hope for, right? Like also when you raise kids, you're like, I'm just hoping that I actually like to spend time with them at some point. When they're like in puberty, you're like, yeah, they're the worst. Why? Because they're hormonal bags of insanity. That's not,
Yeah.
I love how people are just like, my kid's a jerk. Yeah, that's because they're kids. They're jerks. That's, they yell and scream. Yeah, that's what kids do. They're, they don't have jobs where, things are on the line. They're just like, So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me and my wife, we have a quasi tradition is that a lot of our friends will have kids and invite us to like their first birthday and stuff. And we're very happy to go. So what we do is we make it a point to bring for the child some sort of obnoxiously loud instrument, such as tambourines, kazoos, drums. We don't get invited to the second birthday a lot.
Is that like revenge for like they invited you to the first birthday and you're like, God damn.
Well,
all right.
People need to know
Yeah.
who they're dealing with, because we're happy to be involved. I love children, but then again, they're still the worst. So you're like, it's just like there's a lot of things, and I love the whole idea when I saw it was a conversation where two people were, I guess they were trying to link up. They were just getting to know each other. And she was like, "Oh, do you have kids? Because I have kids." He's like, "Oh, yeah. I have a couple. Are your kids assholes?" She's like, "My kids aren't." She's like, "Oh," and he's like, "Yo, I've met kids. Your kids are definitely assholes because you say your kids aren't assholes. That means you don't realize how bad your children are." And you're going, you should love your kids, but also recognize children. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. No, they can be definitely difficult.
Yeah.
And they can be manipulative too.
Oh my God. The
Yeah.
amount of my students, when I can see the phone, see the AirPod, be like, put your phone away, take the AirPod. They're like, pull their hair over there. Mister, I don't have an AirPod in. I'm like, I just saw it is white and obnoxious. I can see it from across the room.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's hilarious that Joey's watching in the background. Thank you, Joey. Pumpkin spice lattes are not the same pre-locked. I mean, there's a thing. That's fine. What's up, Serge? New whiskey for kids, the automaton. Oh, yes.
What's the automaton?
Oh,
I'm doodling that.
It is think about a recorder, but made to ruin life.
Oh, it looks like a giant eighth note, like a music note.
Yes, it does. And the sound it makes, I'll try and mimic it here, is and you can
Yep, that's about right.
That sounds like a theremin shitting its pants. What is that?
So the best part is the speaker is in the bottom and it's got like a little mouth that you can squeeze like a trombone, so you could change the aspect of it. So you're playing the sounds and then, oh, here we go. Here, speak of the devil. There. So let me try and turn this bad boy on.
It's Kirby. That's adorable.
This is right. This is if you invite me, this is what your kids are going to be getting. It is collectible. It is collectible. So like we're not monsters, just we want to make sure that's I think that's reasonable. Because
whoever made that, they're like, I am going to create. It's like the meme with Sue Sylvester. I'm going to create an environment so toxic, so unlivable.
And it's a little off pitch. That's what's a little even more frightening.
But also, I'm horrible at it because I have giant sausage fingers. So it's like, my wife will see. This is the hilarious thing: is Victoria is talented when it comes to music to the point where you're like, oh, you're some sort of like wizard, and she's like, meh, and I'm like, you could pick up any instrument and just go, oh, okay, and just play it. And I'm like, and you choose not to do that. She's like, meh. And I'm like,
not really my thing.
Cool. That's. I mean, yeah. Victoria says it's an awesome instrument. That's because she can play everything.
They have a Hatsune Miku automaton.
Listen, it's. I've even been like, hey Victoria, can you play? Here, watch this. Hey Victoria, can you come here and play the Super Mario? Just give it a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Just do it, and you're just like, how is that possible? I don't understand. But so here's the question: is have you guys had a pumpkin spice latte yet? Because they just arrived at Starbucks. Okay, hold on. Let's see it. Play it over here. It's coming. She's like, oh, I gotta practice. 3 seconds of practice.
Are we gonna see Victoria on camera? That'd be.
Well, I'm gonna just turn the thing.
Turn the mic. Okay.
Yeah, I'll turn the mic to it. But yeah, so it's plastered all over my local Starbucks that I go drive through. Like, I have mental health issues. Let's start there. So every time I go to Starbucks, they'll be like, "What can I get you today?" I'm like, "How are you today?" And then they're like,
it's pumpkin spice season when the Starbucks app has the orange ring around it. Yeah.
I mean, I get it. It's great. But like, yeah, they always remember me because I'm like, I'm having a fantastic day. How are you? And they're like, I'm good. And I'm like, liar.
I don't think they're remembering you because you're nice to them. I think they remember you because you could hold and crush them in the palm of your hand. That's the memorable part.
So, okay. So the funny thing about that is I never realize how that works because I'm like, I've always been a big guy, but now I'm like, I'm not that big. And people are like, yes, you are. And I'm like,
big.
I don't think so. Cause like, so the first time I met Mary face to face and you was at your wedding.
Yeah.
And I love when I was talking to Atlas about this, Mary, I'm excited to see you in Liberty. He goes, I'm like, I want to see your reaction to when you see how big I am. And he's like, well, we're almost the same height. And I'm like, kind of. I'm just like a foot and a half wider in every dimension. And then the funny thing is he saw me walking down the aisle, like as they were leaving, and he was like, oh. And then I saw him standing up. I was like, hey, man. And he was like, hey, you are a lot bigger in person. I'm like, yeah, it's not just a giant head. It's just a giant everything. I don't know.
It's like a power lifter.
So that's what I'm like right now while I'm losing the weight. I'm like, I definitely feel that some people look at me and they go, maybe he was a power lifter when he was younger. That's possible, yeah. Which is a definite upgrade from look how fat that guy is. Maybe he used to be a whale, which I'm like, I mean, possible.
So
I understand.
Yeah. I have had a pumpkin spice latte because I am married to a white woman. So it is like, she's also one of these people who can't finish a drink. So she's like, here, you take it. And
Mary, I need your opinion on this. Is that just a woman thing where they just don't finish their drinks and leave like this much randomly
like
everywhere?
A third of it left? Or
No, my husband does it all the time and I have to pick it up. This is your future, Atlas, married life. I have to pick it up and then throw it away. And then my husband gets mad. I wanted that. Well, it's been sitting here for 2 days.
No. She does something different, or like I'm usually good about like cleaning up the dishes and stuff. And then I'm like, do you want this? And then she goes, no, you can have it. And it's not 2 days later. It's like 3 hours later. So it's still kind of good-ish. But yeah, they're good. The one I keep getting is like let's see, diabetes. What's the qualifier that I usually get? The pumpkin spice chai latte with the like cream on the top. Yeah.
Let's also remind everyone, chai means tea. So when you say chai tea, it's TT.
Yeah.
Not. Yeah. So in Greek, it's sai. In India, it's chai. Like these are tea. It's all tea.
Okay. Yeah. I had something similar to that this week when somebody said something or someone is the GOAT right now. And I'm like, the greatest of all time right now? What? Like, yeah. That would be GRN or Gurn.
Yeah, the greatest of right now. I definitely want to start incorporating that. You're the grin, man. And he's like, what? I'm like, the greatest of right now.
Yeah.
Or like, not time, but this second, good for you.
Things can change. Things can change.
There's that, and then like this is in writing. They don't capitalize I like me. They do a lowercase I, and I am ready to chuck someone out a window.
Oh yeah, because you teach.
I keep having to remind them over and over. Capitalize the letter I when it's by itself. That, and then when they're trying to do who's possessive, they do apostrophe S. So it's like, whose ball is this? It's who is ball is this.
Okay, so I have horrible grammar, just in general. Okay, just in general, it's horrible grammar. It's worse in Greek, but I'm like, even I have taken the time to figure out there, where.
Yeah.
Why you put an apostrophe instead of just adding an S, and now it's almost all been abandoned. And I'm like, listen, I put time into this. I'm not okay with us abandoning language at this point, right? Because it's just, I can only imagine, like on TikTok when you comment, it doesn't capitalize the first letter.
No, it doesn't.
And I'm like, how fucking dare you? Like that, I'm enraged by this, and I will like actively try and change it, but also I'm an idiot, so
that's
I forget.
Probably why. That's probably why they do the lowercase I. Is because
because they don't. Well, it doesn't click in for them. There's like, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Over COVID, I taught full time because the film industry was over for a while.
Yeah.
And I taught English to English learners.
Okay.
And I can tell you, I speak Spanish and I also speak English. Teaching the English language to anyone who's not their native language, it is the hardest language to see. And they look at you, and I was teaching first and second graders. They look at you like we're nuts.
Yeah.
In Spanish language, it's you understand. Nosotros, there's we, there's them, all that, right? There's you, not us. So they look at you like you're nuts.
That's what happens when English is like 5 languages in a trench coat. It's now granted, when I took French in college and all the gender stuff started coming in, and like vagina is male. I swear to God, that's real.
It is. I love that. You're just like, all right.
They're just like, it's masculine or feminine. I'm like, okay, you know what? I think I deserve this as somebody who speaks English. They're like, come up.
And Victoria asked, do they teach grammar and calligraphy in school now? They do teach grammar.
Not calligraphy, I don't think.
No. Like an elective, maybe?
Maybe.
Yeah. They do teach grammar, but calligraphy, it is actually cursive. They teach cursive.
Yeah.
Do they teach cursive now? Because I remember for a while, I know up here that they were like, they stopped. And even the driving test to get your permit, they've removed parallel parking and the 3-point turn, which I'm like, abandon all hope. Just abandon all hope. Yeah, they're just, and you're like, I'm like, that's not like, the key is if I want to have like a secret message and not young people not to see, I'll just write it in, cursive. Haha. Like it's like hieroglyphics to them. It's fine.
I had to teach Katie how to do a 3-point turn at one point. Not
really?
3-point turn, parallel park.
Oh, parallel park. Yeah.
Look, hilariously, there are videos online for anyone that's having problems with parallel parking. There are videos that explain the angles of your car and what you see in your mirrors at specific times will tell you exactly how to maneuver it. And this is, and you're like, until you don't really realize. But like I explained this to my wife I'm like, so the dead pedal on when you're driving, your left foot, there's a space that is just where you can kind of rest your foot. And it's like a pedal, but it's not, right? Nothing happens there. Now, back in the day, that would be like high beams and stuff would be around there. But regardless, I'm like, so where your foot is there, about a foot forward, that's your left tire. That's your tire. And she's kind of like, what? I'm like, yeah, that's it. It's right there. That's how you can gauge. This, that's how you can extrapolate all the information. And she's just kind of looking at me going, I didn't realize it was that close. I'm like,
you want to hear the tragedy?
Always.
I am learning this from you for the first time. I know how to parallel park, but it was the way it was taught to me in driver's ed was it's like you go through the steps of like, okay, make sure you're next to the car in the front. Yep. Go so about the middle of the car is to the bumper. Stop. Turn the wheels all the way. Then let it go so it starts doing that. Stop. Turn the wheels all the way the other way, and then it slides in, and then you're good. Like
So there's the way I was told to do it was line up side by side, right? So you're right there, and key is not the front of the car; it's your rear view mirror, and their rear view mirror should be right spot on. Now, at there, crank your wheel and start going back. When your mirror touches their bumper, like at that area, you're gonna start to go the other way, and just keep on, and it goes right in. And it's you're like, it's not. Like it's a technique, it's a move, right?
Yeah.
You gotta, it's you're doing this, you're going like this, you're reversing an S. It's very like it's counterintuitive. It's like driving a car with rear wheel drive, like where the rear wheels turn. It messes you up immediately because you're going instead of coming. It's very, but you're like, that you just have to take the time and figure it. Like I've never driven in the UK, but like the next time we go, I'm like, I'm kind of tempted to rent a car and go driving, and I'm like, kind of want to give it a try because I've driven in Paris, I've driven in Greece. I'm like, which are essentially a 2-lane road on the mountain is the size of one car, and you're like, best of luck. So
well, so you're going to be on the left side of the street, parallel parking, which to me makes me a little. But listen, my mother, we come from Marblehead, Massachusetts, which is 20 minutes north of Boston, and it was built in 1629. So everything's small, narrow streets or whatever. My mother was the best parallel parker you'd ever meet, and she would do it in one. She was amazing. So there are times when I can do it in one, and
nice.
So yeah,
listen.
I will carry on my parents' legacy of being.
Hey, the best I've ever seen is I've seen people have problems parallel parking, and I like you just watch, and at the same time, like you can see people start getting agitated and stuff. And a couple times I'm like, "Hey, you need some help?" And they're like, "No." Okay.
I think the most annoying thing is that a lot of newer cars, when you're in reverse, they beep.
Yeah,
the truck does.
Yeah.
So when you're struggling to parallel parking, the beeping is just like drilling a hole in your brain over and over. That's the frustrating part to me.
Listen, and Serge, you know what? That was one thing when my wife was looking at cars. She's like, "Oh, they have automatic park." I'm like, "No, under no circumstances. You need to learn how to park."
Yeah.
So that's like you're operating a vehicle now. Like having reverse cameras and stuff, absolutely wonderful attachment. And you know what? Best invention ever. Auto park. No. You go get the bus. You need to take the bus. You can't drive. Sorry.
Well, I almost got in a huge fight. I was at Long Beach Laugh Factory, and I had a Ford, and it had a really aggressive beep when you'd back up, like really aggressive. And this woman thought I was being aggressive with her, and she wanted to start a fight with me. She came to my car door and was like, "You want to go?" And I was like, "It's not my fault. It's the Ford dealership." I'm not.
Wait, it beeps outside the car.
It beeps outside the car, and it's so aggressive that she thought I was she thought I was backing up and hitting my beeper like an animal. And I was like, "No, it's not me. It's Ford." And she's like, "Are you sure? I think you're being aggressive." I think, "Oh, no, you're in my window. I think you're being aggressive."
And you're like, "Watch, put it in reverse."
And I did. Yeah. And she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." But she was tough. I mean, I was like, "I'm Boston," but this girl was.
My car does the reverse beep, but it's only inside the car.
Oh,
so what's it for? I know the car is moving backwards. What do you need to? Christ.
I mean, yeah. Victoria says, "I have had enough time remembering to look the opposite way crossing the road in Hong Kong and England than to drive it." I mean, that's why I drive, honey, and that's fine.
I want to stop driving cars so I can. Sir,
I agree.
They have that. It's called the bus.
Yeah, but you're gonna miss yours. Have you guys ever fallen asleep on the bus or the subway or anything? Yeah. Which, I'm happy because I'm like, no one's gonna bother me doing that. But I'm like, I've seen other people fall asleep, and I'm like, hey, somebody should wake them up. Just in case, because that's not.
The good thing is, the train for the way home for me, I get the last stop is my stop. So,
nice.
So I can fall asleep with impunity there. Yeah. Although one time I was taking the bus and there was a guy who was standing up front trying to have a conversation with the driver, and driver was like, "Can you shut the fuck up so I can drive, please?" And everyone else is like, "No, don't talk on the bus. Shut up." He was talking about real estate and shit. Alone.
Listen, people talking on the bus, you're like, that's how you know someone's got good drugs. That's basically, because you're like, yeah, if you can't be silent. I feel like public transit, I've had a lot of times where people will whip out their phone on speakerphone and arguing with people, and I'm like, did it have to be now? Is this it must be? And I'm like, that's the only reason to have a car.
It's fun for the tea where one time I was taking the train and the guy was in a losing argument with his girlfriend and was please baby, I can explain, and we're all like, "Oh really?
Wait, what's
good
up?
luck."
You're like, let's hear the explanation, sir. We're all in now. Yeah.
Are you taking the train to teaching?
Well, okay, so not last week but the week before, my car battery died and then I paid to replace it, and then that Friday my catalytic converter got stolen. So one after the other, and then I had to file a claim through my insurance, and they just got the part in on Friday, and I didn't get the car on Saturday, and they're closed Sunday, Monday, so I will probably have to do this again on Tuesday.
But also too, driving a Prius and sounding like a custom Harley Davidson going while you're driving is kind of the most hilarious thing ever, right? So I feel like
I was sick on Thursday and I went to school. I was like, all right, woke up Friday morning, still sick. I'm like, okay, I'll muscle through it. I'll get to the weekend. I get in the car, I turn it on. It sounds like a Harley. I'm like, fuck this. I'm not going to school. I'm calling this up. Like,
I mean, that's I feel like there are some things. I'll let me get your opinion on this. Like, I remember when I was a real person and I had a real job and did things for, like, you know, the man, that like there are sometimes you wake up and you're like, nope, I'll try again tomorrow. Just
not today.
Stop right there. And I feel like that is a specific thing attached to when you're working for other people, like in a horrible environment, right? Like, because you're like, oh, I don't need to suffer this much. I have priorities of, like, you know, not dying. I'm just gonna stay home. It's just not gonna, you know. I feel like that's reasonable. People don't like it though. And I'm like, oh, I'm prioritizing my mental health and well-being, and they're like, how dare you? How dare you prioritize your own health?
They didn't like, okay, so when you call in for a sub, it's like, what's the reason you're calling in for a sub? You can just put sick.
Yep.
You don't have to put how you're sick, why you're sick. They don't care. And
then when you get for subs, because I sub, you get 4 days a year, and you just have to fill out a little form and say, and if you're sick more than 3 days, they need a doctor's note.
Yeah, it's like in a row, you need a doctor's note. But it was just the Friday, and I came back to, like, it's fine.
Yeah. He took the Friday off, Mary.
Oh, I know.
Well, I mean, you can also do like kin care, which if you have to take care of a relative or your kids or whatever.
But like, that's the thing. Like, so I was reading, I do know how to read, despite what anyone might think. I was reading an article today. Surprise. What of this it was a mining billionaire in Australia who was getting angry at his employees. He's like, you're wasting too much time going and getting coffee every day. You have to stay on the job. You're not allowed to leave while the job. And I said, and the funny thing is, in the article, it explains that he is saying this because the numbers have come in. And so last year we weren't productive enough because you were all getting hot coffee. How dare you? The company made $550 million in profit last year. And you're going, I don't think so, bro. I don't think you have a leg to stand on. You're kind of going, you know, that's the whole idea. It was like, I want you to be as dedicated as I am. Like, then pay me $50 million. No, I can't do that. Then you're not getting that commitment, sir.
Oh,
you know, it's just one of those things, right? People are unreasonable, I find. But
gotta love. I'm curious, Mary. Does your daughter know what she wants to major in? Or
yes. So my daughter's at Otis College of Art and Design. My daughter wants to be a character developer, illustrator, animator.
Awesome. That's really cool.
I mean, that is a very, very interesting.
With a minor in arts education.
Oh, fun.
Oh, smart. Listen, I'll be honest with you. That is one thing that I definitely think is very important. Is like learning how to educate people. I think is a skill that is useful everywhere. Like, there is no time that being able to communicate and teach people is not beneficial, right?
So. Like, my first year was just them being like, we'll get you a mentor or something. Good luck. I was like, that's it? I had to like go ask the teachers around me for help, and like I managed to get through the first year like with relatively unscathed. And
did you go back and get your teaching degree? How did that work?
No, I took the CBEST because I had a degree in English and I'm trying to teach English. So took the CBEST, passed it, set up an emergency credential with LAUSD, which is 1 year. And then I was doing the classes and all that stuff that year. And then now I'm a district intern, which lasts for 2 years. And I passed 3 out of the 4 of my CSET. I still need 1 more to pass by the end of this year.
Nice.
It's a really good program. It's really good.
It's also really banal, and I really hate red tape. And I am being flayed alive mentally. But hey, they paid for the credential. So I love their stipulation. We're like, you got to stay in LAUSD for 5 years, otherwise you have to pay it back. I'm like, where the fuck else would I go?
Yeah, exactly.
All my family's here. My wife is here. Like, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, what are they going to do to you have to pay it back? Okay, but I don't have a job and I'm leaving the state.
Yeah.
Come get me. I don't.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Right? Like it's.
Well,
They're going to get a bounty hunter to grab you.
Oh, I'm sure.
Then you're just going to become an influencer of like, I was the guy hunted for, you know. So I get free
out
bottle
of
water.
curiosity, since we've all been to college, what was something that you were totally unprepared for when you got to college? Academic, social, or otherwise?
I was unprepared for the how experienced some of the freshmen that I was in school with were, and I mean sexually. Like our first class in acting, the goal was for everyone to do a collage to explain their acting. So it was like, okay, so mine was very like rudimentary. It was like, I lived by the ocean. There was a theater in town. Like I kind of drew I'm a horrible artist. I drew some stick figures and there it was. And then 2 students next to me was this woman who did a collage from a magazine with just one telephone, like English telephone booth. And basically she did a monologue how she lost her virginity in a telephone booth that summer. So I was in summer stock, whee! And then she was like, I was having sex with many men in a phone booth. I was not ready.
I popped me cherry in the telephone booth. That sounds like something like if they did a British version of a chorus line and they're like, here's all.
It was horrifying. So all like the theater geeks like myself, who, might have been sexual and had their first time. Sure. We weren't going to put that on paper, but this girl did. And she led with her sexual.
I mean, that is a hard flex,
chest, right?
Yeah.
I mean, literally and probably figuratively. Let's be honest. That's one of those things. Wow. That would be see, I went to college like locally. Like one of my like my parents I was like, hey, if I get a scholarship to go somewhere, is that okay? And they're like, yeah, if we don't have to pay for it, you can do whatever you want. I'm like, what if I just wanted to go somewhere else? They're like, no, you're gonna live at home. I'm like, why? They're like, because you're an idiot. And I'm like, oh, that's a good point. And then my dad was like, also, you'll probably get pregnant. And I'm like,
you'll probably get pregnant?
Yeah, that was verbatim quote. That was, we don't want you coming home pregnant. And I was like,
oh, I wish I could have met your dad. He sounds fun.
I mean, like, there were times. It was times he was definitely. I feel like he became funner much later in life. So it's definitely so. It may have been an ongoing joke because I was fat. I had lost weight, went to college, and my dad was like, keep the mouse in the house. Don't come back pregnant. I was like, oh yeah, yes sir. There's no problem. That's fine. But like that was like. I found because I had worked in my dad's company up until like throughout high school and stuff like that. So I had always dealt with like other adults. And also I looked like this since the age of 15. Right. So it's like people just assumed I was an adult. Kind of a little bit. It's been an issue. But like when I was dealing with professors, and I would be like, well, I don't understand what that means. I'm paying you to teach me. And everyone else was like, from high school where you're like, you don't talk like that. That's not. And I'm like, no, sir, I don't understand. Explain it again. He's like, well, why don't you understand? Because you're not explaining it. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm paying for this education. Educate me. And like, there was only one teacher who was like, get out of my class. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I paid. You can call security, but I'm asking you to teach me. That's not a reason for me to get out of class. And then like he ended up getting like they removed him from the course. They brought in a new teacher and everyone was happy. And I'm like, I'm not being a dick. This is an exchange of business. We're all adults. You're not doing what I'm paying you for. I need you to step it up. And like most teachers were like, I'm glad you asked. Here's how it works. And they would explain even more because like it's one of those things where you're like, a lot of the times people don't want to ask a question because they're like, I don't want to seem like I'm an idiot. Right. Whereas I'm like, I am 100% the idiot and I will definitely ask the question. And and then like people were like that, you just have to open it up. And a lot of teachers, because it was college, right? It's not university where people have like tenure and they're like, I can do whatever I want and I'm never going to get fired. You're like, no, this was a college where people were like, I'm just trying to feed my family. I'll teach you whatever you need, right? So like they were like, sure, yeah. Like, if you're happy with my class because you've gotten the most out of it, that's a decent exchange of information, right? So I'm like, I was happy to treat everybody like adults, but like nobody dared until like I was in my third year. Then people were more comfortable, like, hey, I need a conversation with my prof. Like, I need to talk about this because you're not helping me in the way I need help. And you're going, that's what you're paying for, right? And a lot of people like that was my. I wasn't really ready. Like, oh, does no one else realize what we're here for? Like, you need to get what you can get out of this. Otherwise, it's just a piece of paper and it doesn't mean shit, right? Right.
And it's interesting. At my daughter's school, the president of the school told us that 96% of the graduating class will be employed, and that's a heavy promise.
Yeah.
But so because the school's private, it's expensive. And I'm grateful, but it's so yeah. I mean, listen, I teach elementary school when I'm teaching, and then I also have my acting program that I teach kids and adults. Sometimes, I feel it'd be nice to have the kids have a dialogue in elementary school about stuff that they don't understand, because we're just pushing kids through, and some of the kids don't understand everything.
Yeah,
I know that there's like this culture, especially post like social media age, where looking stupid is the ultimate downfall as a kid. Cringe as a whole thing. So they're so afraid to try because they don't want to do something stupid and then it gets put on Instagram or something. And they're being a lot more stringent with the phone taking and like trying to get the kids to not be on their phones during class. Now, admin, they have these two people who run around with a cart every day, and they can randomly just show up in your classroom and be like, any phones I see, I take. And then you get them at the end of the day. And like, they're random, but
there's nothing. Okay, but okay. As
they're random.
Yeah. As an adult, you start to put together very quickly in life where you're going, oh, nothing is random. Absolutely not. No. That's called someone's a snitch. That's all. Yeah. It's like, and then we happen to be here. You're like, okay.
I mean, I'll take them myself too, but if there's like 10 at once and I can't like run around doing all of them, I'll just be like, need vultures, and then they show up.
Sure. But and this is okay. And you know what, like Mary, in all honesty, I compare what you said about the placement rate. Like, I know people who are like, oh, I got my MBA online. You're like, an MBA is literally just to learn how to be an administrator and make connections for business. Doing it online, you get half of the value and zero of the benefit. And people are like, why? And I'm like, because you're a master of business administration. That's not a thing, bro. You need to make connections with an MBA. That's the whole, like, I'm like, yeah, you go to a prestigious school in the MBA program to meet guys whose dad runs 7 different companies so you can go in and be a director. That's the deal, right? It's not, actually, it's funny because Victoria and I were talking about this, how like the majority of her, the people that she still knows from that class, like only like 2 or 3 are actually fashion designers. And it's like, the rest are like, well, I work in accounting at a clothing place. And you're just like, you went to school for fashion design. What are you talking about? Right. It's very weird. But.
Yeah. Well, and that's, listen, I went to Emerson College, and the majority of people who graduate Emerson are in the field. So
nice.
We're in some sort of acting, television, but it's true. I mean, listen, USC's MBA program is one of the most prestigious MBA programs, and they don't do online.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I laugh at when they were doing like during the pandemic, and they're like, everything's going online for universities, and I'm like, that's not going to work. That's because like university in itself, and like I would say all education, you're only going to get what you put in. And
Yeah.
the worst part is that like most of your most beneficial education years are also times when you are literally overflowing in hormones and insanity. So you're like, this is probably not gonna, you really have to be on it. But like you said, like it's so embarrassing to be, not the failure, but the disappointing people and be like, this guy's dumb. And you're like, I'm the dummy. You're like, that's not, it always, you don't want that. But then you're kind of realizing going, wait, if you don't fail, you're not trying hard enough. Like, because failure is just a matter of effort. You're like, because every time you do something, it lands perfectly and everything's great, you're not challenging yourself. And also you live in a very small box that, anyone could poke a hole in it. It just doesn't make sense, right? It's weird.
The kids who are seniors now were in 8th grade when COVID started.
Right.
And like they're kind of nuts this year. And they're like, oh, it's because they're seniors. I'm like, the seniors last year were fine. I think for the next few years, it's going to be crazy because the kids who are going through puberty during COVID are like came out and are just a little off.
They're behind though. Yeah. They're behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're behind in that whole thing. I mean, my son, who he is 16, I was dating a guy pretty regularly when I was 16. My son is interested in girls, but doesn't have the social wherewithal to make the first move.
Yeah. 100%. Okay. Now, granted.
Now, how dare you make a move? Just keep your hands to yourself in your pockets.
Well, not just that. Like demographically, Gen Z is just like a less horny generation. Or at least people who express it. But also, if you ask someone out and it fails, it could get spread on social media. Like the stakes are so much higher for them.
But I think it's more so. I don't think there's any decrease in horniness because we're all perverts on the inside.
Yeah.
But I think it's more so that it's the accountability of, hey man, the internet is forever. Yeah. And you can try, but someone's gonna get it. And that's now knowing the ramifications of all that. I remember being a teenager when the internet was just starting and you got a nice little disc in the mail from AOL and you just jump on there. I'm like, bro, I was a teenager and just newly had access to the universe. There were some horrific conversations I had online and I'm like, they're not real people. And you're like, hey man, they're real people and that's not okay. Mm-hmm. That's just, you can't be mean to everyone just for shits and giggles. You're like, that just makes you a garbage person or a teenager, one of the two.
Well, there's also just people learn how stuff works through pop culture, like it or not, which I think I was steered wrong by that for a lot of time. But movies and stuff, you're not really getting as much, naked scenes, stuff like that in movies. So people are just kind of assuming, oh, you just don't do that. There's no Rebecca De Mornay and Risky Business anymore. You know what I mean?
It's one of those things where I don't know. So there's been a few TikToks about this where they're like, a lot of romantic movies are just based on cheating, and you're like, that's and then realistically, if you've been cheated on, you're like, that's a horrible. No, I don't like that. I don't think that's romantic either. And you're kind of going, oh, well, this is not good. This is bad. This is, it's definitely a weird thing to see from the embracement of living your best life. And then other people who are like, the internet's forever. I'll keep that to myself. And you're going, I get it. It's a weird world we're living in. I don't know. It's tough. I don't know what. See, my thing is this: is if you dropped her off at school, she's just starting and everything. How is she finding it? Has she been overwhelmed yet? It's only been a week or a couple of weeks, right? So, and she came back
the things that overwhelm, and this is, and they have a really good staff of teachers and administrators. I think the life stuff Like I taught my kid how to do laundry, right? But when
there's always a kid like that though at every college where it's like, you know.
But they got to the laundry and the laundry was different. So their roommate helped them do laundry. And I was like, thank God, because now I don't have to do laundry, that they're home. Excellent. But I just think the instantaneous, they can't get what they want when they want it has been, you know, I'm going to be honest. In my family of origin, my mom was a Boston mom. She was like, get it yourself. I mean, she was like, and I've created more of a, I guess some people might say, helicopter mom kind of thing. But, you know, when my kids want stuff, you know, oh, you want chicken nuggets? All right, let me whip it together. But so that's been difficult. There is one of her roommates is kind of a mom. So like, you know, and then my daughter, we took them out to dinner. Like, my daughter's like, well, you know, my roommate will just wake me up. I go, no, you got to do this on your own. So that's been hard. Like the real life stuff has been hard. The classes, no. I mean, my kid is excited for the art stuff. They're in studio for 6 hours a day on Wednesdays.
Wow.
And so they love that, but it just the day-to-day stuff, you know, was like my kid was so excited about rotisserie chicken at Ralph's. And I said, and they go, we're going to do rotisserie chicken. And I go, but do you have money to get the rotisserie chicken? Well, because their stipend hasn't come in. I go, so who's going to get the rotisserie chicken? And what ended up happening is one of her roommate's parents was in town and got them the rotisserie chicken. So it's just, you know, I think that's what's kind of weird for them.
You know what though, Mary, you should be applauded for the fact that, listen, when you're at your parents' house, yeah, life is great and it's happiness, but that's because your parents love you.
Right.
In the real world, and this, like, being able to put her in that environment, be like, hey, now it's real life time. Mommy and daddy aren't here. And you're going, listen, that's an important, like, you're definitely right. Like, that is a huge thing. I remember after my divorce, I moved back into my parents' house, and then I went up to my mom, like, can you show me how to use the washing machine? My mom's like, just give me your laundry. I'm like, no, I need to learn. And she's like, no, I'm your mother. I'm doing your laundry. I'm like, no, I need to learn, or I will take my clothes to a laundromat. Do you want me to take it? And she was like, no, you can't go to a laundromat. I'll show you. And I'm like, I love you. And like, that's even for cooking,
inversion of the trope. That's fun. Yeah.
Well, and I even was like, hey, can you show me how to cook what you're making? And she's like, oh, I'll make you something. I'm like, no. I need you to show me how you do it. And she's like, but I'll just make it for you. I'm like, no, I'm a man and I'm an adult. I need to learn how to make this. And she's just looking at me. She's like, you don't cook in my house. I'm like, that's fine, but I need to learn anyway. Yeah. And it was like this weird thing, because I'm the baby of 5, right? So like I would come home from high school and go, what are you making for dinner? And she's like, I'm making this. I was like, okay. She's like, do you want me to make you something else? I'm like, I'd like some eggs. She's like, oh, I'll make it right now. And like, my mom loved me. That's I'm also her best child. That's fine.
And you're Greek.
And I'm Greek. Yeah. Yeah. My, like, realistically, my mom loved me, obviously more than my siblings. That's I even messaged her the other day. I'm like, hey, listen, I think it's about time you tell my siblings that they're not getting any inheritance and you're going to give everything to me. She's like, why do you say things like that? I'm like, I'm just telling you to be honest with your kids.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, be nice to them so they can plan for their future, because I know mine is fine. And she's like, why are you like this? And I'm like, because you love me.
Well, you are the baby and you are Greek. My son is the baby and he's half Italian. So, and my husband was the firstborn Italian.
Oh,
so you do nothing wrong.
Does he know how to tie his shoes, or is that no? He doesn't know how to do any of that.
Yeah, no, but my husband, when my mother-in-law comes into town, there's a skip in his step. Like, I've never seen him more happy, because he's, you know.
It's one of those that, hey, that's just, listen, it feels nice to be unconditionally loved. It's one of those things where you're like, it's nice, right? But you know.
Yeah.
It's just not realistic all the time.
So the answer your question, Atlas, that's been the big sort of growing.
For me, it was like, and I still struggle with this, is just dealing with like bureaucratic systems. Like, oh, I got to meet with my counselor, or I switch my classes or whatever. It gives me so much anxiety. And even still now. Although one funny thing was I took a gap year between high school and college. So I went in at 19 when everyone else is 18. And I get there and my roommate goes, "Hey, so I need you to buy me condoms. Here's money." And I was like, "What? Go buy them yourself." And he's like, "Well, it's weird." I'm like, "It's not weird. They're condoms." And he's like, "Just here, you can keep the change." I'm like, "All right." So I bought him condoms and then I come back and he goes, "Thanks." So what's going to happen is I'm going to have girls over a lot. Is that okay? I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine." He met somebody the first day, they were together the entire year. Like,
there you go.
But it was just one of those things. I'm like, it's fine. Just the guy isn't going to be like, "Oh, buying condoms are." No, they're not getting paid enough to care.
Well, yeah, no. I mean, and the difference for us, we're not necessarily doing that, but like, you know, when girls ask you to buy tampons, I go yourself. Come on. Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
It's just.
Or hell, even like when like I've been at the grocery store and Katie's like, "Babe, can you get me tampons?" I'm like, "Yeah, what do you need?" And she goes,
"You're such a good husband."
And she's like, "Isn't it weird for me?" I'm like, "No, it's like soap or paper towels or toilet paper. We need these. What do you need?" And then that's it.
Yeah, you want to get those tampons. You don't want. Yeah. No, it's just so that's what we're really trying to teach. And then my son goes to college in 2 years. And so, but my son is much more like knows how to do laundry, knows how to do the dishes, knows how to cook.
Nice. I also feel like one of the big things that I only recently learned was like it's easier to do 15 minutes of cleaning a day than it is to do 3 hours one day a week. And you're kind of going, "Ooh, that's a good point." And you're like, I think I might have to burn my house down and start over. 50-50. Yeah. I like a nice burnt wall, but
anytime I go visit my mom, she's like, "I failed as a mother." I'm like, "Okay, both of your kids are out of the house, both of your kids are married, and neither of your kids are homeless. Good job. Like, what do you want out of me at this point?"
Yeah.
Our only responsibility, my mother told me this, is to get them to 18. And then all bets are off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, but is that not unreasonable? Like, that's totally fair. Like, hey, man, I took care of you when you were, you know, unable to take care of yourself, whether it be physically or just because you're a nut job as an adolescent. But now, all right, well, real world, off you go. Like, that's a good thing. Like, I was explaining to somebody else. I'm like, I've never worried about if I'm like, I need to go see my parents. Like, if I had to, like, can I stay the night? It would never be a question. I'd be like, yeah, that's of course, they're my parents. I don't abuse their hospitality, but I know I have them in case of emergencies. But I still, like, if they're going to ask me, like, "Yeah, you can, is everything okay?" Be like, "Yeah, I'm just dealing with something." "Okay, but are you dealing with it?" "Yes." "Okay, then stay. What are you going to do?" Right? It's a reasonable thing. But
yeah,
I feel like everyone's afraid to grow up now.
Well, I think, you know, it's the pandemic. I would say, even though my kid is 17, mentally they're about 15. The kid that went to college. I mean, my kid will turn 18, you know, in the fall semester, but I think I've been noticing that. And that's okay. Like, they don't, just put it this way, I don't really worry about, you know, my kids, my kid getting pregnant or my son getting someone pregnant. Whereas my grandmother and my mother were petrified that I would get pregnant. So it didn't happen. But
prophylactic, what's that?
Yeah. Well, but it's such a weird thing because coming up in a Catholic household, you know, abstinence, which is unrealistic, you know, and so you just sort of hope for the best.
Yeah. Now, I think, well, part of it is you can almost blame the why kids are like so afraid to grow up on us, on the millennials, because for the entirety of the 2000s and the 2010s, we were like, adulting, I don't know what to do. So now the kids who are, you know, watching their older cousins, brothers, sisters, or just online the whole time seeing memes about like, I'm broke, I'm in my 20s. Now they're getting there and they're like, fuck, what do I do? Like, we didn't make it easy for them, I don't think.
Yeah, but you got married recently, which I think is it gives me hope.
Okay, I'm talking on like a macro level, not me individually. Like,
Yeah, no, I know, but
millennials is a generation.
But what I'm saying
yeah.
though, it's nice to see that you got married because are you in your 30s or your 20s?
30. I turned 30 back in February. So I'll be 31 this coming February. Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes my heart feel good that there are people your age getting married and not sort of be a solo generation.
Oh,
yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's also like it's I was talking about this yesterday with Kyle, was like, if you live by yourself, life will be hard. If you live with roommates, life will be hard. If you get married, life will be hard. If you have kids, life will be hard. If you have a prosperous career, life will be hard. If you're homeless, life will be hard. It's like there's hard everywhere. You just got to choose which one you want to bank on and go for it, because you're like, listen, there are challenges for every one of those circumstances. They are all different and they all have their shitty issues. But that doesn't mean that they're not worthwhile or beneficial or stuff. Like, even still, like, Mary, you're married for a long time. Atlas, you're newly married. I love my wife with all my heart. That doesn't mean that sometimes you don't look at her and going, why are you such an asshole?
That's just... Actually, I can hear her yelling at my nephews right now. I should probably go rescue her soon.
I mean, perfect timing. But it's like, yeah. And then you go, hey, that's fine. Like, we just work through it. Why? That's love. But that doesn't mean that you're like, oh, I don't care about the person. No, but sometimes you're human and you go, hey, stop being a jerk, right? Like, I can hear you, butt face. There you go. So, but that's like, I remember.
He loves you, Victoria. It's fine. Yeah.
I would go to shows like into the night. It'd be like 2-3 o'clock by the time I get home, because I was at open mics and stuff. And I would get home, like, I would slowly take my shoes off and like put my feet at the sides of the stairs so it wouldn't make any sound when I'm going down the stairs, and like creep in the bed. When I'm sleeping in the morning, my wife walks in and she's banging around. I'm like, why are you such a dickhead? And she's like, what? And I'm like, okay, no problem. When I come home tomorrow and everybody gets woken up and I go, what? You'll see. And she goes, oh, I didn't realize. Okay, well, now you do, right? And then we proceed accordingly. But she still tries to bang a pot as an alarm right in my face. Just bang. That's fine. It's reasonable.
Sometimes when my kids are misbehaving and like the sound's getting too big, I'll get like a big heavy object like a book and then stand on one of the tables and drop it.
Yep.
Usually shuts them up pretty quick.
How old are they? What grade?
These are the seniors, the 17 and 18-year-olds.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the freshmen I could still like look imposing enough. Some of them are taller than me, and I'm 6 feet. So
you know what you should get, Atlas, is one of those fart sounding machines, and then hide it under their seat. And if some of them starts to go, you just go and just go, hey, stop farting. Just blanket statement, and then they'll be like,
yeah. I'm actually going to do that. That's smart.
Yeah, it's reasonable.
So, Mary, thank you so much for coming on Generation Dan.
It was so funny. And to answer the question, I have not had a pumpkin spice latte because I can't have it till October.
Boo!
I mean, I understand.
It's too. I'm still in my summer feelings. I can't.
I hate summer. So the second it was available to me, I was like, get it in my veins. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But I'm going to Starbucks after this. I might get one. I might shake it up a bit. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
but thanks for having me.
Tag us on Instagram. Where can people find and follow you and all that good stuff?
M Kennedy Comedy. And I've been touring with my one-person show, Midlife Mood Swing. We're going to be in Texas in November. And then in the spring, I'm going to be coming up to Toronto. That's what's kind of going on. But yeah, M Kennedy Comedy, and would love to hear from you. So
tell me when you're here. I will make plans to take you around to do some things. We'll get some food. I will feed you. It'll be very exciting. Trust me. There's so many things. I've been currently actively researching the best cannolis in Toronto. So for my wife, because that's called love. So don't worry. We'll have the results and you'll be able to try. It'll be perfect.
Oh, I'm excited. Yeah. So here I
am. You can follow us at Generation Dan in all the places. Follow our other podcast, Last Minute History, the episode coming out this week. At the time you're hearing this on the RSS feed, it's already up. But if you're on the stream, it's this Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific. And that is about Bonnie and Clyde, who I just learned were in their early 20s when they died. I thought they were like 40. So, yeah, Bonnie and Clyde. And then follow me at Atlas Novak, all the other places. How about you, sir?
Absolutely. Dino the Genetic Marvel, everyone. Google me. If you can't do that, we're not going to be friends. Right. So, and in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. This has been fantastic.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Everybody.